People are filing in. I just want to introduce you to my two Notion buddies today. We have Jonathan Stewart and Tim Jeffries, and I'll let them do a really quick introduction for themselves as well. But all three of us are in entirely different time zones this morning. So it's still great that we can all meet up and collaborate on this. Let's see, I guess it's about 5:01, so we will kick off. Thanks to everybody that's here this morning. We really appreciate you jumping in. We love your feedback too in the chat. Just interaction from you is great. Interaction together works really well too. We have a Q&A that's set up in the webinar. So if you have any questions, like as Tim and Jonathan are presenting, just please submit those through the Q&A. Otherwise, they get lost in the shuffle. So we'll try our best to answer as many questions as we can. Just like quick introductions, I'm Steph Nelson, and I'm north of Denver in Johnstown, Colorado. I've been Notion obsessed. I think that was a term that Jonathan threw out the other day, and I've adopted Notion obsessed since about June of last year. I feel like that's my established date. Tim and I are both Notion pros, which means that we just work with the Notion team to kind of spread the love about Notion, to connect with people, to share, to set up events. Tim does some in-person events in Australia. And so while we're not Notion employees, we can't help with like giving you everything you want. We're connected to the Notion team, and they do support us. So that's kind of our role. So yeah, we're going to jump in here today. Tim is going to show you a part of his Notion setup this morning. And again, like ask questions during in the Q&A, and we'll get to them as we can. After Tim kind of presents for a while, we'll stop and have an opportunity to ask questions directly of Tim. And then we'll move on to Jonathan and do the exact same thing. And hopefully at the end we'll have time for a little Q&A there as well, which I guess I added 2 Q&As because Q&A is so important. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tim. And Tim, if you could just, let me stop sharing my screen here. If you could give just a little introduction about yourself, you can do it better than I can. That would
sure.
be good.
Yeah, no worries. Well, evening everyone. It's 1 o'clock here. It's not 5 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. So I'm in Melbourne, right in the south of Australia, and I've probably been using Notion for about 18 months and use it extensively in my personal life, but even more so in business. So I've sort of started playing with it in a couple of different jobs, and have ended up working for myself and consulting to particularly small business, and use Notion pretty much everywhere I go to help them create workflows and systems to run their business more effectively and efficiently. I'm working a lot at the moment with law firms, and so I'm not going to demo it today, but I've built like a whole legal database and a tool to help law firms go digital and not use paper files, but use Notion instead. So yeah, it's I'm definitely in the obsessed category. I think everybody I know is kind of sick of listening to me talk about it and tweet about it. So that's why we've got you, because I've met you before and you're not sick of me yet. So shall I just dive in, Steph? Yeah. So I thought I would share with you a tool that I've built for budgeting. Now, how do I share my... Here we go. Share my screen. All right. Can you see that?
Perfect.
Excellent. All right. So this is my little budgeting tool that I built. Some of you may have come across YNAB, which is like an online budgeting tool, and I had used that previously, and it's a fantastic tool and I highly recommend it. I just got kind of excited about whether I would be able to build something similar in Notion. So I spent a bit of time putting it together, and I thought I'd just kind of walk you through how it works and how I've set it up. So really what we've got here is two tables in Notion. You've got the top one here, which is really a budget that has some categories in it and some columns that I'll go on and explain. And then underneath that, we've got another table where I've got the transactions listed. So you can see, I mean, these are all made up. This isn't my real budget. I had my real budget in there, and that was really embarrassing. I didn't want you to see how much money I spent on bottles of wine. So I've changed all the numbers. But let me go through and explain how it works. So I've got categories listed here. Of how much I want to budget, and then a column that lists the actual amounts, and so just made these up, but you can see I've got a pretty serious grocery bill. I've got too many kids, and I've got a range of different things that you might have, obviously totally customizable, whatever you would like, and then I've got a column here that calculates how much has been spent in that category, and I'll show you in a second how that works. And then another column that works out the difference between what was budgeted and what was spent. And then finally a column that is the balance for that category. So you can really see, like, okay, I only want to spend $1,600 on groceries for the month, and then you can track where you're up to in the spending, or I tend to just do it retrospectively at the end of the month, but you could do it as you spend. And then you can even check in and have a look and see how much have I got left to spend in the month. And then at the end of the month, you actually get like a balance for where that category is up to. You can see that if you go all the way down to the bottom, there's one for income. Now I put that in as a negative, which you need to do. It seems a little counterintuitive, but hopefully money comes into this category, and so you put it in the negative there, and then when it goes in as a transaction, it comes in the positive here, and hopefully you manage to make as much as you budgeted for. So if we go down the bottom, you can see these are just a whole lot of dummy transactions that I've chucked in to try and give you a sense of what it might look like. But mobile phone bill, $150, and I picked the category mobile phones. And then obviously that appears in this mobile phones category here. So I budgeted $200, I spent $150. Now I'll show you, if I go and add another transaction, I can either do it by clicking new and adding another row to the table like that, or I can just go down the bottom and I can, I don't know, let's just say it was the 14th. And I say, I don't know, a phone bill, and let's say it was $45, and then I choose the category. Now the tricky thing that's going on is that this table is related to the other one, and it's actually pulling those categories down on the side, so I can choose mobile phone, and then I can say it comes out of the credit card. And if we go back up here, you'll see now it has mobile phones, $195. So both those transactions are in there. You can see the difference has changed, and the balance has changed. So it allows you to track as you go, and it also gives you, like a picture of what's going on overall. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. I just wonder if it might be worth pausing and seeing if there's any questions up to that point, or whether people, yeah, I can kind of push it a little bit and show you how it's built. I just want to get a read on where people are at.
Yeah, everybody feel free to chime in, and he can dig in deeper. I don't know if you saw the one on chat that came through, Tim, from Jay.
No, just having a look. Do I import them? No, at the moment, I haven't set it up like that. So I've just been copying and pasting them from a Excel spreadsheet, like just export it out of the banking. And that works pretty smoothly. In Australia, I find I have to change the date format from like the way we write the date in Australia to the way they write it in the US with the month. And it goes month, day, year. We do day, month, year. And so my banking spits it out in day, month, year, and I have to tell that field to switch it around. So there's a little bit of kind of hacking it, but I think, I find it pretty easy. And there's a bit of me that just is kind of intrigued about being able to build it and, and make it work.
And go ahead.
No, that's okay.
I was going to ask, like, up in your first database, maybe you said this and I missed it, but you have like the dashboard column.
Oh yeah. So what I've done is I think one of the great things about Notion is you can build cool things like that, and they're all great. And you've got that information there and you can use it as a tool. But one of its great features is that you can take tables or databases and put their information in other places that you might find relevant. So I have a lot of things set up, but one of them, and I know lots of people like to build these as little dashboards that it's your kind of landing place. And so here I've got what is called a linked database. So it's like a copy, I think technically it's actually a copy that's kept in sync of the budget database, but I've filtered it and obviously changed the view of it a little bit so that all I'm showing in this is the categories that I'm interested in that had that little dashboard tick next to them. And I'm only showing the balance. So if I wanted to quickly jump in and not have to go into the full thing and be confronted with all my financial problems, I can just jump into this spot and I can quickly see, okay, I've got $250 left of groceries for the month. Great, that's all I need to know. And so, I share a workspace, with my wife. And so if she wants to see particular things, or could set it up in her dashboard so that she gets to see, I want to see what's left in the take my kids out for coffee budget or whatever it is.
Yeah, I like that. I'm a big fan of dashboards, and sometimes they get like overwhelmed with information, but
yeah.
Look great.
I think just being able to pick and choose, I mean, one of the great things about Notion, even though, a tool like YNAB, for instance, it's really pretty and it all works and there's no hacking anything at all. It's, it's a great bit of software that someone's built, but it's still, I can't quite customize it to exactly how I want to use it. And that's what's wonderful about Notion is I thought, that information's all fantastic, but it's actually going to be way more use to me if I can put it in front of me where I'm working and this is the space that I go into if I want to put my tasks in, or if I'm tracking, my workouts or other things that I'm doing in my life. And so, it's much more useful in that space.
Yeah. And I've found that with these linked tables too, that, and maybe it kind of goes back to what you said, but so many times we have so much information, we just start dumping things into Notion, or back in the day, like into Evernote. And then it's so easy to just like have information for information. And I feel like that's what's so wonderful about these linked databases is like you can really keep important things top of mind, like you did here with what's important in your categories.
Yeah, so I just started playing around with it just to see if I could get it to work. But now this is all I use to manage our money. and a new month comes up and I just create new properties, new ones for September, and then a new transaction spreadsheet. But it allows over time for me to see, kind of where our money's really up to. And particularly what happens too is that this category here, this amount here, that actually ends up being what's in the bank. It'd be nice if that amount of money was actually in the bank, but because what you have is this is what I budgeted and this is what I spent, and that includes your income, then the balance figure is really what's left in those categories, and the total amount is what's left in the bank account. So it's actually really easy to keep it pretty accurate. You just put the transactions in as you go, or I just do it at the end of the month and make sure we haven't got totally overboard. And it works pretty well.
I'm just curious, like before you built this, were you using another budgeting app that you kind of pulled inspiration from?
So it's called You Need a Budget, or YNAB. And so they've got a great website. I'll post the link to this template, and that's a link to their site there, but they've got a really good philosophy around budgeting too. So I pinched, as you do over the years, you pinch a whole bunch of good ideas from everywhere and sort of make it your own. And so this draws on that pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Do you guys have any questions for Tim? Or anything, deeper that you want to see? All right. Yeah, and feel free, like Tim, if there's more that you want to share about it.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things that sometimes people, they really wonder about is just the relational stuff. I think if people hadn't seen relational databases before, then it kind of seems like some weird sort of magic, but it's really quite straightforward. And so I've got there's a relationship set up between this table and the other one, and so we've just gone and created a new property and said make it a relational property, and then you actually select, I can't remember what I called that one, something like demo August transactions. So if I was to make a new one for September, then I would have, which I already have, created the demo September one, create the relation, and then I'm actually able to create what's called a roll-up property, and that then connects back to that relationship that I said before. So it says, I want you to pull the data from the September transactions table, and I want you to grab the info out of the amount property, and I want you to add it all together when you say sum. So that's how I'm managing to get information that's coming out of here when I say, $150 from the category mobile phones. It adds it to that column there. Bill's saying it is pretty straightforward, and there's a whole lot of really, really complicated things you can do with it. I think sometimes that stuff gets super overwhelming, but it's a good place to start. And then you just find, I've certainly found as I've used it more, and I've kind of toyed with it, you start finding areas in your life that would be really useful. That's kind of what's happened. My use of it's kind of progressed. Larry, does that answer your question about how I'm getting the August spent column? So this would be the September spent column. Yeah, great. Cool. Well, I do have just, you might have seen in this dashboard, I've got a tracking table as well. So it's similar kind of theme, but another thing kind of worth showing. Just sometimes you got things in your life that you want to keep track of, or maybe you don't want to keep track of, but you feel like you probably should, like your weight or like your sleep, or and so I've got these little habits that I'm always working on or trying to take notice of. And so I've created this table um, for tracking different things. And it's actually quite a big table, and it's got a whole lot of different properties in it. But I only look at certain views of it. And so I'm tracking kind of 3 different areas, I guess. Habits, and so you can see here weight, which is a numbers property, hours of sleep, whether I've done mindfulness, whether I've read, and whether I've done any exercise. And so that's really simple. Literally put the name, the day of the week in, put the date in, and then, you can, I wish I got 9 hours sleep. Oh, sorry. I don't wish I weighed 9 kilos. I wish I got 9 hours sleep, etc., etc. You can kind of tick them off as you go. And then things like, you can track, I'm tracking sort of food. And then if I go to the gym, then, I can say, all right, I did 20 minutes on the bike. I had it on setting 5 because I was feeling lazy, and I went 5Ks. And again, they're really, you can use formulas to give you the day of the week from the date. It's true. I don't know if other people have found this. I have this kind of hate relationship with this property that you just have to keep. And it's the first one that you can't actually turn into a formula, or you can't change it. It's always just this free text, the title property. And so I'm always kind of wondering what to do with it, because you can't hide it and it just has to be there. So that's actually kind of why the day of the week is there. But again, like the real use of this, obviously that's really simple, but the real usefulness I find is when you go somewhere like a dashboard, and so you can just have your linked database view, which allows you to do things like these ones. You'll notice that Friday entry that I put in is not there, because they're just filtered to only show that day of the week. Like today. And so I only see the information that's relevant. I'm only kind of confronted with what I need to deal with right then. If people haven't created a linked database before, it's really easy, and it's a fantastic little tool. And you go in and you create a new block, and you just say database, create linked database is your option. And then it allows you to pick from the myriad of databases that I have. Hopefully it's not that difficult for everyone else to find it, but you just search for it, and then it gives you the whole thing. And then from there, you just do things like you take out the properties that aren't relevant, so that you only see the bits you want to see, and you filter it accordingly. So in the other ones I've said, filter by today's date, make sure the date is today, tomorrow, or whatever. And that's how you get, only viewing the information that you want. But I find that to be one of the most powerful and useful things. No, I don't think so, Bill. I think it's super limited what that title property is able to do. I've tried to mess with it, and I can't seem to find a way to really do anything else with it other than stick some text in it and click on it so that it takes me into the page view. Yeah. All right. That's all I had.
All right. That's really great. Just for my own need, is there any chance that you would share your tracking?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure.
No pressure, because I know sometimes it's a little bit of work to throw that together, but
No.
people do that, and I love this one the most so far. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. No worries. Absolutely. Yep. I'll post a link to the templates.
That would be perfect.
Oh, sorry, Jay. Bill had asked if there was a way to automatically increment the title field with each new record. But unfortunately, that title field, really, you can't mess with it. I'd just like to be able to hide it. That would be my big request. I understand that they probably need a field like that, but I don't want to see it. It's in my way.
Right. All right. Well, that was great. Any last minute things for Tim or anything else from you, Tim?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's, yeah, I just really wanted to, I guess, hone in on the fact that, you can build all these amazing things, but yeah, one of the really useful elements is that you can take that information and put it all together and share it and have views that actually are good in a real life setting. I think,
Yeah.
when you're just trying to get the shopping done or, remember to do a task or, you actually want to have a look at what's going on for the day, you can create a view that, can show you all this cool data that you've got everywhere, can drag it all into the one spot.
Yeah. I love it. And I've noticed, I don't think it's just me, but especially on the mobile app, it seems like it's really slowed down. So that's like, I think that's the one thing for me that keeps me from doing a regular habit tracking, even in Notion, because
Yeah, right.
it's a little bit slow, but
What operating system are you using?
I'm using Android.
Yeah, I haven't used it on Android, but I've heard that it's a real struggle. I know they're working on it. They've sort of posted that as one of their key priorities.
Yep, exactly. So I think so is that not as much of an issue for iOS?
No, the iOS app's really good. And actually a bunch of the lawyers that I work with, they run it on iPads in court. They're using it
Do they?
like they're not using anything else. They're just using an iPad and they're using a huge database with, thousands of rows in it, and they're flicking through and grabbing reports and making notes. And so it's, it's good enough to be able to do that. So yeah, it's not amazing. And it's not really a native app either. They use this kind of wrapper thing. So I'd love for them to spend the time and energy and money to build, kick-ass mobile apps. That'd be great.
It would be great.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a work iPad, so maybe I'll try it out.
Yeah, worth a go.
Yep. All right. Yeah, Tim, thanks a million.
Pleasure.
All right. So Jonathan Stewart is next up. Jonathan.
Hello.
And if you could also do a little introduction about yourself, that would be perfect.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jonathan. I'm actually relatively new to the Notion scene. I looked back at my information. It's only been since April, but it's this year, but it feels like so much longer. I'm owner of business in Notion because I got the domain name really fast, so I was quite happy with that. And I kind of help various kind of businesses, small business owners, kind of build Notion systems that help them. I'm also a private music teacher, so I teach guitar and piano. And before Notion, I just started working out with different businesses how to connect different tech tools together to make it work. And because of Notion, I can do that even easier now because it can all just be built within Notion. So yeah. So do you want me to get started?
Yeah.
Shall I just share? Yep, cool. So I have a ton of templates, but one that I'm really excited to share is a course planning template, which is the ability, I'm a course creator. Before I was building, courses for guitar as part of the Busy Guitarist. And I decided I wanted to build a template which helps people plan a course because it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to actually properly plan and implement an entire course. So I built this huge course template in Notion which takes you from the beginning. So the thing that I found really important when it comes to trying to plan a course is really having that understanding of why you're building it and who you're building it for. So this first kind of page, as you come in, when you want to create a course, you can just press new and then create course. Once you've done that, I've got a pre-populated one to make things easier because I don't type very quickly. And you've got the course topic, the purpose of the course, what you imagine this course will do to help other people, and the transformation. Be as clear as possible when you first start designing a course what the transformation will be for your students. And then kind of I go into a theme outline. So I've worked with a group called Magic Media, and they believe that you should have a theme for your course. So having an idea, an overarching idea and thing that helps you to keep your story world together, to create something that's actually entertaining and engaging rather than boring. And so you've got the course theme. So for me, I'm building a course at the moment for Notion, and you've got the look and the feel and the sound, and you can add in the color scheme if you're having specific colors for your website. You've got the ability to upload images, including using things like Unsplash, which I've created a little button for, as well as kind of like the websites, like links to websites that you like, links to videos that you kind of want to compare with your stuff as ideas and inspiration. And then I have these module dumps. So before actually building, it's really important to kind of start designing what your modules are and what your lessons are. And so I've created a little template which just goes, what's your name? What's the module name, the first module? What will happen? What's the goal or transformation at the end of that module? And then you kind of have an outline of what you'll teach in the module and also an outline of your lessons. And then you can do that for each individual kind of module that you have, depending on how many it is. You also have brainstorming for your landing page, your draft. I'll not go through that yet. And then you have kind of like a course outline. So for people, a lot of people really like to use Trello, and I loved that idea, but I wanted it all in one place. So I brought it in here and created kind of a Trello style course outline. And then within each lesson, if you were to add a new lesson, I have a template for the lesson itself. So you can have a description, a call to action, something you want to for your students to do. You always should give at least a bare minimum 1 to 2 different actions at the same time. And then kind of describe what you imagine the video lesson or the lesson to look like. You can then add a script, whether you upload it or you create it within here. This is a template button which has kind of like the intro hook, the lessons, the call to action, you know. And then you can kind of go even deeper into actually creating a shot list. So this is a shot list which kind of goes into detail. If I just create about each individual kind of shot you want to do. So say, for example, you want to have an intro recording with you walking up in the wonderful weather, and kind of the vibe of the video. You can have the video backgrounds, all the nitty-gritty details you can have written down and planned, because the more you can plan when it comes to actually shooting the video, recording the video, it will be done like that, and it'll be really, really quick, which I really enjoy. You also have the ability to choose what type of footage it is, link it to the course. So here I've got one that's the course planning template. Then you've got which lesson it will be, which I don't have yet because I need to bring it back in. And you kind of have this entire system for bringing everything in. And then you have cast and crew information and B-roll lists. So you have an awful lot of information that you can cram into just one tiny bit of info. So it's pretty cool. Going back out to here, keep going. Okay. We've got the course planning, and then within that, you also have kind of the ability to embed and upload videos. So you can upload videos. So what I really found so frustrating before was trying to remember where I uploaded my videos, where I put them. And so here I can just embed my video here and then share a link and upload it. Then I have kind of my lesson to-dos where I've got to do all these things. Once they're all done, I can upload them. And then a little space for additional notes and information. And that's kind of the outline. Then you kind of go down to this course checklist. So the 55 or 50 things that you need to kind of think about doing when building a course, and all of those are like little checklists, as well as a course calendar, where inside each kind of course, you have the ability to create a new page, or in this term, date of when you want to do recording, or when you need to shoot the video or record the kind of voiceovers, things like that. And you can all plan that within Notion. And I think for me, the exciting thing about this is I can do it all here and find all the information. Being able to connect everything together is probably the most exciting thing for me at current. It's just the ability to bring it all together in one place and not have to worry about having to hunt for it all the time. And the search functionality, even though this template's pretty in-depth, you can find anything with a quick search, which I think is amazing. And even if you can't spell like me, it will kind of find it, and it's quite robust. It's fantastic. Hope that makes some form of sense. This is quite a big template, so any questions I'd be happy to answer. Yeah, exactly. Steph was just saying that it normally involves 33,000 documents all over the place, but you don't have to do that with this template. It's all in one place. Yeah, exactly. And of course, with everything, it's customizable. So once you start getting more visual and having like banners and stuff, you can add a banner on the top, and it just looks so lovely. Let me find let me find it quickly, and then I can show you actually a course itself that I built within here. And so this is kind of the first version, but as you can see, I've got the whole entire process laid out, and this was my first version of it. And even just having this, I built this template in a weekend as part of having to build a course within, I think it was 4 weeks. And it was crazy for me to do it this way, but Notion helps you work the way you want it to work, which I think is the exciting thing for me. Does anyone have any questions? Anything they want me to go through? I do talk quite fast, and there's so much to dive into here.
Yeah, feel free, everybody, to shout out your questions to us. And for Jonathan, I mean, from my perspective, I'm really interested into just like kind of diving deeper into, like I really loved how you had the modules broken down Trello style. That's such a great visual too, and yeah, an easy way to link everything together.
Yeah.
And Jessica mentioned that she'd love a copy, love a template. I mean, my gosh, I would too. Like, to me, this looks like, an investment.
Yeah. So this will be available. I'm hoping it will be a paid template with a course, which is actually ironically what I'm designing here. So I am designing my course for this course template inside the course template, which for me, being a complete and utter geek, I just loved it. So yeah, you will be able to get a copy of this template and the course that goes with it, which kind of explains not just how to use it, but also kind of the fundamental theory behind it, because I'm a bit of a course geek at the same time. So it kind of a combination of planning and everything all together. So yeah, this template will be available, I'm going to say soon, because I'd love to put a date, but knowing me, as soon as I put a date, everything will go wrong. So I won't put a date yet.
How long do you reckon you've spent building it, Jonathan?
That's well, I spent an entire week straight up in Canada building it. I'm from the UK, and I actually went out to Canada and spent like a week straight building this version.
Yeah, right.
It was about 4 or 5 days. At one point, I couldn't even use the template because it broke the Notion limit of 5,000 blocks.
Yeah, right.
So this is at least 4,000 blocks worth of like information in here. There's a lot of information, and it will grow and develop over time until I hit that limit again. And what I kind of done with my templates, because for me templates are really difficult because everyone has a different way of working. So David asked, which limit of 5,000 blocks? When you create kind of, let me show you, when you've got databases and tables, these kind of like templates have to be under 5,000, otherwise it cannot be copied. So, and that also includes the horizontal rule lines, which I really liked, but I've had to remove because they really added up quickly. So if you're trying to copy kind of big templates like this, you cannot go over 5,000. Once you've kind of created it inside here, you can go over 5,000 as much as you like once it's inside, but you cannot copy over 5,000 blocks into new templates, from what I understand.
There's similar limitations when it comes to duplicating pages.
Yeah.
So when I've tried to put templates together, or, you know, I've got a massive tasks sort of system based on G2D kind of principles, and I was trying to create a template version to share and show people, and I tried to duplicate mine so I wouldn't break my own stuff, but it just wouldn't let me. And even copying and pasting content in, it's a much smaller limit. I regularly get a kind of error when I'm trying to copy rows from a spreadsheet in or something like that. So there's still, I mean, they well and truly know about it, but
but you can, what you can do, I was speaking to the support team, you can turn your kind of pages into templated buttons, which is what I've done with a lot of what I do here, which does reduce the amount they were explaining. It does reduce it somewhat, which is why some of these are still here. So
right. Does it reduce it down to 1?
I think so, yeah. So it reduces it down from what they were explaining to me before. Yeah. So that is the joy. So yeah. Any other questions? Anything you want to hear about?
It's great, mate. Can't wait to see the finished product. Although you're doing my head in with building a course about Notion inside a course about Notion built inside of Notion. It's like, it must be too late.
It's okay. It's like 1 p.m. for me, so I'm fine.
Oh, you're in the sweet spot.
I am, yes, thankfully. Yeah, so the individual pages are okay. Jess was saying some pages are well over already. Yeah, you can you can have an individual page, but don't ever try to copy that page because you will not be able to do so. And I'm also currently working on, there's a little fun teaser here on an introduction to Notion, which is kind of how it works in 4 parts. A lot of people who start using Notion are coming to me saying, okay, cool, it's Notion and I can do lots of things in it, but what does it actually mean? Like, what can I actually do with this? And I'm actually designing something and I'm doing that so that people who want to start using Notion, because for us who are really into it already, it's really hard to forget that actually people outside of our wonderful bubble don't know how good it is. And so, yeah. So there are plenty of others I can share, but I've also, just as an idea of other things you can use Notion for, I'm actually building a membership platform for one of my clients where you can, thank you Bill, a membership platform for a copywriting client, and she and I have teamed up together to build an entire workspace for people to kind of plan their marketing, because I don't know about everyone else here, but marketing is one thing I always struggle with and always try to avoid doing, whereas this kind of, the idea behind this is so you can plan your marketing and sit down once once a month, you sit down, you plan all your marketing. Yeah, I can share that one, not a problem. Jessica just asked for the client call template. Have we got time, Steph? Yeah, cool. So this is my kind of very simple client call template. And within here, you've got a simple kind of database, which has, when you start talking to someone, when you have meetings, I always find it so difficult. After you have like a meeting with someone on Zoom, you have to do one of two things. One, you have to try and send them the video if you record it, which I always do for my clients because it's really useful. And two, like all the links that you share when you have a conversation. And I found that really frustrating to try and work out, where do I put the video? Okay, I suppose I can upload it to Vimeo, but then I've got to try and send that link over and do all these things. And then I have to do a whole page of like notes. And I wanted to make something that looked just a little bit nicer. And so I created this client call template. So within here, you've got this is just a dummy client. So you can upload and embed any video that you have. So say you're on Zoom and you upload it to Vimeo, you can, if you already have a Vimeo account. If you don't, you can upload it directly here, which I think is fantastic and really helpful for people who don't have Vimeo already, and you can also embed YouTube and all the other platforms, of course. And then kind of just notes, general notes about the meeting, as well as kind of action items. Yeah, it's a very simple template that I kind of just use. I also added a Zoom link. So I always forget what the link is, and then I have to go back through Zoom or back through my emails and everything else. When a client goes, I can't find the Zoom link. So what I do is I actually share this template with them, and they can see where the Zoom link is. And I have a tendency to upload paper notes as well. And so I upload these notes and they can see that as well. So then you can go, is there anything that I missed? Is there anything you need me to change? And it's just a really useful way of having all your clients' information set out. It's a pretty simple template, but it's really, really useful. And for me, I think that's really important. We can go really deep, and I did with the course planning template. Steph asked, when you share with clients, are you sharing as read-only or inviting them? I share as read-only, or I can invite them depending on whether I want them to reply. What I do now more often is I have a slightly different template, which I have when they're a client with me and we start working together, I create kind of like a client portal, and then I kind of add their calls that way, and then they have access to all of it. But most of the time, I should take note from Steph and send Zoom link reminders every other day. That's not a good. David just said maybe your client should take notes from Steph and send Zoom link reminders every other day.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, because between me and Zoom, we were just about the bossiest people ever. I'm really sorry. Everybody has their filter up to block stuff now.
So that's kind of the client call template that I have there. So Jay asked, do you use this for every interaction with a client, every call and each meeting? Yes, I do. Yeah, because I have a terrible memory and I want to make sure that, because what I do as part of my work, I do a lot of stuff. Yeah, I would. Yeah, no, it's great. I would forget it otherwise too. Yeah, and because a lot of what I do is kind of building a huge system, I need to have as much information as possible, and it's a lot of discussion back and forth. It's kind of a very like two-way relationship when I'm building a Notion setup for people, because it's so personalized. Yeah, and you can also, Jessica said you can use it for webinars as well. So anything can be used. It's pretty cool. I do love it. It's brilliant. But yeah, any questions that you might have?
Yeah, I think that's really great, Jonathan. And even when, like Jessica said, like, you know, my meeting setup template or call template is very, very similar. It seems like I still always like pull something out of, you know, the way somebody else does it. So I can never see ideas, like too many ideas. I love it.
Good.
Yeah, Tim, did you have something, or yeah, sorry, Jonathan. I was gonna have Tim jump in here for a second. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add there? With yours, Jonathan?
I don't think so. No, no. There's loads I can share. We would be here all day, to be honest, if I kept going. So.
I know, and I know between the three of us, like we chatted one night, and I think Jonathan was like 2 a.m. But yeah, we could talk about it forever. So
Okay. No, I mean, obviously, it sounds like most people who are in the Zoom have used it a bit before. So, would love it if people have sort of, you know, questions or things that they wanted to kind of discuss. And I think a bit of Q&A, you know, might be good. And then, yeah, there's always other stuff. I'd be happy to show people some of the legal stuff. We just got some formulas in it. But yeah, it sounds like some people at least have already used those a bit. So let's hear some questions.
yeah, and I just noticed Alex asked if we can recommend any good videos, links that explains how to build databases. From my perspective, the way that like Tim's demo of his, I think was the most straightforward. I don't know if that helps you all, but I've seen other people try to explain, you know, the way that they set up a relational database and roll-ups, and it kind of like it's I don't think it's easy to explain, and especially when it's somebody else's mind and it's somebody else's content. I just to make
it's really worth like just playing with it, you know, like literally chuck 2 tables on one page, put some information in one of the tables, and then create that relational property. Once you do that, then it, you know, the 2 things will be connected, and then you can start messing around with it. Yeah, I'll have a look, because I'm sure when I first did it, you know, did my head in as well, and I went and found someone else explaining it. But Alex, the trick I reckon is just dive in. You know, you won't break it much.
One thing to suggest is also start really, really simple. Like a lot of the systems you see from everyone, whether it's a pro or someone else, is that we have built these over time. Like we haven't immediately built them, and they've not immediately been where they are now. I don't know whether Steph and Tim agree, but we build it over time.
Yeah, so, sure, Bill.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll just jump back into this budget one. Shall I just? I'll demo to show you to answer that question. Is that all right? Yeah. You with me?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, great. Okay, so I've got 2 tables here. I've obviously got this top one, which is the demo budget, and these are inline tables. So you know, with tables, you can either create them as a page, or you can create them inline. So to have 2 on the same page, all you do is you say table, but instead of saying full page, which would just create a link to a complete page, you say inline, and then here it is. So yeah, you can do as many as you like, and it's really useful. I mean, the templates I use in the legal database, they've got tables. They've got multiple tables on a page, you know, one for billing information, one for contact information, that sort of stuff. Really useful. And of course, if you haven't come across them, tables are just one view type on a database. So the same thing can be a calendar, it can be a gallery view, it can be a board view, taking the same data and displaying it in different ways. Yeah. The timeline view, yeah, it's going to be great, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait for that one as well.
Yeah, we are like the whole Notion Pro thing. My wife thinks it's hilarious. She's like, how do they get you to do all this stuff for free? You don't know anything, you don't get anything, you know. But the real benefit to me is that, you know, getting to jump into these conversations and hear other people's thoughts. I'm learning something all the time, which is really useful for my work, you know, trying to find new ways to, to use it and to help people build kind of real world, you know, tools that are going to make, you know, their businesses, in my case, a whole lot easier, more efficient, all that stuff.
Yeah, and Jessica was asking about the week only view, and that was brought up on our call last week, and I believe it's on their roadmap.
Are many people using the calendar? I haven't found myself using it much. I mean, I use Google Calendar extensively in the rest of my life, but the fact that I can't, you know, integrate them, I mean, I can't even embed a Google Calendar, means that that side of things, you know, I mean, what I love about Notion is being able to bring and just use that one tool, but not having access to that data and, you know, to be able to, I would just love to be able to integrate my Google Calendar with a Notion database. That would be awesome.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I honestly can't wait for that.
So like calendar view, I might use it a little bit more than others, but I don't use it like necessarily to remind me of events or anything. But I find, especially for me for workout tracking, I just like to see on a calendar like things in. So for me, sometimes it's just the visual of seeing a streak of something or seeing this week is overloaded. But I agree. There's a lot of potential there, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Jessica, I have my weekly page to show all of my relevant info for the week. Okay, so you've just kind of...
Like a week dashboard?
Is that what you mean?
Is that what you mean, Jessica?
That's what's great about Notion. If something isn't working, you can kind of hack your way to a solution.
Yeah.
Stay up all night.
Doesn't work, change it.
Say that again.
If one thing doesn't work, change it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, calendar view. Oh, right. Lots of gallery views.
Yes.
And just like filtered so they only show you the week's info.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Gallery view is pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. Super quick. I want to be very respectful of everyone's time because I know it's 6 a.m. here. So I know there's a few more questions that we want to answer. So we'll keep doing that, but we want to respect like the limits we set here. So if you need to drop off, no worries. We're recording this and we can catch up with you later. And also like these two are great to connect with. I connect with them a lot on Twitter. I don't know what you guys prefer. Like if people want to reach out with questions and
reach out anytime. I'm pretty.
Yeah, Twitter or whatever.
Twitter's good.
Carry a pigeon. It's fine.
Okay. Good.
Larry asked if I'm worried about security putting finance. I don't have enough money to worry about that. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be putting passwords and, like really sensitive information in there. But look, my general way of thinking about it is I'm not famous enough or rich enough or powerful enough or interesting enough for anyone to, spend the time and energy. So, I mean, I don't think Notion security is horrible, but it's also, it's not Gringotts. So, I kind of treat it a bit like that. I've got heaps of info in there though. I imported everything from Evernote across, and so I've sort of got copies of, birth certificates and bits and pieces of information like that that are really useful to have, kind of super accessible. But I feel like as soon as you start chucking stuff on the internet, you're taking a level of risk.
Yeah.
I've just shared in the chat what Notion themselves say about security.
Yeah.
So if look at what they say and kind of take it from there.
I don't think so.
That would be amazing, OCR. I think they're working on, what was it, Tim, like,
So, Alex, do you mean like for the PDFs that are put in there, you want to be able to search the text that's inside the PDFs? I assume that's what you mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't feel like there's a real focus on that side of it. Like even like the data storage works, and it's in Amazon's buckets and it's relatively quick and it's great that there's no kind of limitations. They don't seem to care about that at all. But I feel like their focus is more on the actual data that's being stored in Notion, in the Notion blocks, rather than, when you keep, PDFs, which is annoying for me because a lot of the businesses I work with get tons of reports, and something like OCR could be pretty cool. But I've never heard any whispers about OCR before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, email into Notion. Oh man, I pray for that every night. Even just being able to, like in the context that I'm working in, there's huge amounts of email correspondence. Lots of people using email for what it was never really intended, but that's the world. And so to be able to just, when it get to an end of a thread, send it off to Notion and it's just sitting in the file along with all the other reports and all the other info we're keeping, that would be so useful. Mm-hmm. The amount of times I hit, print with message history, save it to the desktop, drag it in. Yeah, sucks. But API, I mean, we haven't talked much about that tonight, but when we eventually get there on the API, that'll change the game on a whole number of fronts. Oh, yeah, nice.
Oh, right. Oh, we can probably read that because he just sent it to us.
Oh yeah, Alex just said that send the receipt to Evernote and then import it every month from Evernote into Notion.
Well, and I have a Notion confession, and you guys are probably going to kick me off of the webinar, but I'm still like I've tried to move all of my note-taking into Notion, and I am still, like, I keep going back to Evernote because I feel like I can find it faster. And
really?
I hate saying that, but yeah.
That's good.
Can we still be friends?
Yeah. We're not zealots.
Yeah, we're fine.
I find the quick find feature really works really well. It doesn't find stuff.
I don't feel like it's as easy for me to search and find things and as fast. But I know they are working to improve search in Notion, which could really help. But maybe I'm just being a diva.
No, I think I've heard other people say that too. That just hasn't been my experience.
Yeah.
But I also think it's like the kind of info you store and how you store it. Like maybe I've just got lucky. A lot of the, so I've got about I don't know, 5 or 6 legal clients, and they're all set up in exactly the same way. But we're often, so they've basically just got one huge big table with all their legal matters in it. And then, so it's one enormous database, thousands and thousands of rows and maybe 30 or 40 properties in each one. But if I'm ever looking for, say, a particular report that's buried in one of those pages, if I put the title of it into the search bar, I always find it.
Oh.
But we format things, like all the files are called, date in a particular format, and then the document name in a particular way. I think that really helps.
Yeah.
So maybe we're just cheating.
Yeah.
I think that's smart though. Yeah.
I think it's kind of the same thing with Tim for me as well. Like I can find any document I really need, but you need some form of naming to be able to name it a certain way. I mean, I also use Power as well, the projects, areas, resources, and archives. That really helps me because then when I'm working on projects, I find it, most of the time I don't even need to use the search. Normally it's a really obscure file that I've put in the archive that I need to find. But for me, having the overall organization and naming conventions and things, it's that not need it.
It's not Notion, it's you. Yeah. That's what we're saying. Yeah, right. There you go, Anthony. Yeah. Well, it's on the top of their list. It sounds like they're working on speed and search. They seem like the two things that they feel like. I mean, I know they've got their kind of ranked list that no one gets to see, but about what most people are concerned about, and that's dictating at least to some degree.
Yeah.
Where they put their effort. So,
Mm-hmm.
No, it's good.
All right.
Cool. See you, Bill.
See you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Well, do you? I could go on and on, but my work is going to
there.
be right.
I can't. I'm going to bed.
For you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any parting shots from you two?
No, but I mean, feel free, to reach out. I'm just Tim Jeffries on Twitter. If anyone's got any questions, I'm always looking for Notion buddies.
Yeah. Notion buddies are the best buddies. Seriously, in this community, I've just found really, really great people. So
yeah, it's been great.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. This has been fun.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Anything from you, Jonathan?
You can reach out to me anyway on Twitter, Notion Biz. That's Notion with a B-I-Z because they didn't have business in Notion and wouldn't let me use it. So Notion Biz. And you can find me there.
Good.
And I'm all up for talking more about Notion.
Yeah, ditto. Speaking of quick pitch, we have a virtual meetup coming up again. I should know this. It's on the page, but it'll be coming up again in a couple weeks. And I know a lot of you on the call were there, and that was a kick too. So it's a way for us to we pull everybody into breakout rooms. So you get to have a chat with about 3 or 4 people, just sharing screens, talking Notion. So it's just a good way to have kind of more one-on-one connection. So everybody's invited to that too. It's in a reasonable hour for me. It's probably a terrible hour for you, Jonathan, but Block Mountain Time. So anyway, so I guess we'll wrap it up for today, and hope to see you guys all again soon. Reach out anytime to any of us if we can just be of any help, or if you just want to talk about what we have in common here in Notion. So,
just chuck the templates in there.
Oh, thank you.
If anyone's interested. That is a crazy
Perfect.
URL, but yeah.
And
I will give my templates to you. I'll make them pretty links. I'll share them with you, and then you can share them with other people.
perfect. Yeah, and Tim, I'll grab that link from you too, and we'll put it on the recap page if that's okay with you.
Cool. Yeah, for sure.
All
Nice.
right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, everybody. Thanks a million. Loved hanging out with you. All right. Have a great day. All right, bye.
Okay.